Until recently, I really thought Loughborough was just a spot on the map. I didn't know it at all. Now I find that it's not just a centre for bingo and ordinary community life, but it is also a lot to do with motor cars. I recently met an interesting man who, in the 60s here, actually developed a little car called the Tichy, which Stirling Moss proved to actually endorse. Then I find that a recent road test Punto has seats that were designed at Loughborough University. Suddenly it seems Loughborough is on the motoring map. And indeed that is the case, but it is a much more serious story than Tichy cars from the 60s. It is in fact the epicenter to a revolution that is going on with Italian exotica. In the past, Ferrari dealerships have had a reputation for being rather more filled with arrogance in the showroom than they have motor cars that you've been allowed to buy. The other side of this glass, there are three good reasons why Loughborough has aided the new revolution. The first reason is that 4 years ago, Ferrari UK gained themselves a new managing director, and he vowed and pledged that elitism would be removed and that the whole dealership process would be refocused. Secondly, this dealership is owned by Frank Sittner, the motor racing ace, and the relationship that he has with his race mechanics is one of trust and of freedom, and they rely on each other. And he has brought exactly the same team spirit to this distinct Ferrari dealership. As a result, Greypool has become the #1 retailer for second-hand Ferraris in the country. And all this has been led by a mercurial man from Naples called Mario. And in here, before we meet the man, you can see his passion for Ferrari is seriously deep. He doesn't just sell them, he lives them. If you look here, he's got photographs of himself, he's got Schumacher's signature, he's got cartoons, the rich and famous who've bought from him. He even has his own helmet, a works helmet with his name on it. He is the ultimate salesman for Ferrari because he believes in them, he loves them. He admits it's unlikely he would ever afford one, but that doesn't seem to make any difference. In here, he has the ultimate secret weapon. He actually uses a CD of V12 Ferraris to inspire him and the sales force. Somebody in the factory is very lucky.
We try and run a very family-oriented business in the respect of, I was brought up in the back streets of Loughborough, and I remember 10 years ago when I used to look through the showroom windows. I daren't come in here because I thought the attitude of Ferrari owning Ferraris was something that I'd never get. So, and that was the thing. That was the main thing I wanted to change. When I first came in here, I wanted to open the doors to everybody. I've been in the car industry for about 10 years. And I've got to say, I was here for 6 months, 7 months. And to me, it was just another job. It was just another job selling cars until one day I realised that I'd actually fallen in love with the product. And that is the difference. It is just not another job. You actually fall in love with the product. That Ferrari has something about it that you just grasp hold of it and you can't let it go. Now, I've had a reasonable turnover of staff. I'm not going to pretend that I haven't. And the reason I've usually found that the turnover of staff has been is not because they've been good salesmen or bad salesmen. It's not that they've not earned any money or anything. It's that they haven't actually fallen in love with the product. And you usually find that if somebody falls in love with the product and actually likes doing what they do, that will make them. That's when they fit in here. And we find that the team that we've got in here now, they are all true, passionate Ferrari lovers. And that's the reason they fit in. So I don't think there is a thing. I can't train somebody to fall in love with Ferrari. And I don't think there is you don't need to necessarily be a fantastic salesman to actually do this job. I think that you've got to actually understand Ferrari and just be passionate. I keep using the word passionate, and I suppose that it can go over the top a little bit, but it's how I actually feel about the product, and I usually find that everybody that I work with is no different.
There's certainly a general love affair with Ferrari, and it's well beyond just being a motor car. It is a way of life. It's a sort of icon. when people aspire to consider one or flirt with the idea, the general trend is to see there's a Ferrari 400 or a 308 GT4, which is relatively cheap and could just be affordable. Is that a wise way in, or does one have to be more careful?
The 308, for me, that is an exciting little car. That is a car, you know, you wouldn't be embarrassed of owning a £30,000 308. I certainly wouldn't. And that is a true sports car for me. It goes back to the same shape as Magnum, and everybody remembers it. And I do actually like the 308. And the 400, it's a very, very nice car for somebody that's got a couple of children. That's one of the problems with Ferraris. It's mainly a two-seater. So, you know, to get a 2+2, it's superb. It cuts out whether, you know, you need to worry about whether you've got two children or not. You can still use it, and it's still a sports car. At the end of the day, it's still a Ferrari. These cars, you know, people say that they're very expensive and it's all right, but if you can afford to buy one, it's all right buying one, but it's actually running one. It's a myth. They actually don't understand the cost of running a car isn't very expensive at all, in a respect of compared to the other half's car. You know, if you looked at a 308, you'd have to do the cam belts on a 308 every 3 years. Well, if you average that over the 3-year period, it would be about £400 a year. A service, you'd probably only do one service a year, and that would cost you £400. So if you split that over the 3 period, you're looking at maybe £800 a year, which is not over the top to run a car of that calibre.
Well, as you gather, Mario is a very passionate salesman, and he will never seemingly sell you anything that he doesn't believe in and love.